hello, and welcome to another edition of the Gooner Ramble. We're here after the most Arsenal-y draw we've had all season. Devastating draw. But I'm here with regular Callum. How you doing, Callum?
Hello, mate. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Well, I'm not doing well. I'm doing pretty terrible. But as far as terrible goes...
We're used to that by now.
We absolutely are. And then we have Amanda from the Gooner Girls podcast, from AFTV's Big Arsenal Discussion, basically the princess of Arsenal podcasting. How you doing, Amanda?
Hello, good evening.
I'm
going to be happy and positive, even though it was... Am I allowed to swear or not?
You absolutely are.
Oh, it was shite today,
It was.
and Arsenal did an Arsenal. There
Absolutely.
we go.
Yeah, it's terrible. Anyway, I am over here in the United States. We were sitting at a bar in the morning, drinking, having a good time in the first half, and then it all went shit in the second half. But anyway, I'll start with Callum. Let you just talk about the game before we get into everything else with the team and the rest of the season. Let's just talk about this game. Impressions, what did you think? I mean, first half, second half, were your emotions all over the place? Just let us know.
It was quite impressive because I was genuinely pretty apathetic towards the whole game. I think there was a general feeling in the stadium. It seemed from watching it on television that it was kind of everyone had accepted that the title was gone, and this was very much just us going through the motions and trying to finish in the top four, and it was very flat. And that was kind of how I felt. There wasn't any excitement before the game, last week before the West Ham match, because it was kind of a big game. They're in good form, and if we thought if we won, you may put a little bit of pressure on Tottenham and Leicester. But today, it just felt flat, and it had a very kind of end of season feel with the good weather and stuff. And too often we've had these games in April and May where it's nice and sunny, and basically we've got nothing to play for, and that's what the most depressing thing is. So I went through most of the game feeling very apathetic. Then we scored the goal, which I thought was great. Played pretty nice in the second half. Created a lot of chances. And then we do what we always do, and we absolutely gift Crystal Palace a goal. Who, I mean, it genuinely seemed for a lot of the match that they didn't even really want to score or do play well. I mean, they were really bad. I mean, we've seen some pretty great defensive performances at the Emirates from opposition teams. That's not anything we're not familiar with. But Palace really weren't very good today, and we still didn't take our chances, and we still gave them a goal by, being susceptible on the counter. So having been very apathetic towards the whole game, I was still finished the match very disappointed and quite bitter about the whole thing. So it just feels like we're in a real rut at the moment. And I think, whilst we have gone through many periods of bad form before, and you always kind of feel it will come to an end, at the moment, it very much feels like, I don't want to use the phrase the end of days, but it certainly feels like if there is a light at the end of the tunnel, it's kind of tough to spot it at the moment. And
it might be an oncoming train.
Yeah, I mean, it genuinely feels that way, and we're in a position where we're desperately hoping Leicester don't fuck up winning the league so we can stop the Tottenham don't beat them to it. And we're fighting off the worst United side in history, well, not history, but in the Premier League era, perhaps, for fourth place. It's just doesn't, it's not a good time to be an Arsenal fan right now. Let's put it that way. And today, was a game that we've seen a million times before, not just this season, but especially this season. And yeah, just incredibly disappointing, but at the same time, not exactly surprising either.
Yeah, I know and I know Amanda's probably was begging for a St. Totteringham's Day as well. I was still holding out hope. I still thought we had something to play for from that aspect, but yeesh, terrible. So, Amanda, were you at the game or were you watching from afar?
I was watching from afar in my seat in the stadium because I sit quite far back.
Oh.
No, I've got a season ticket. Most people know that. And although, in a way, we haven't really got anything to play for because third, fourth, it's the same old shit every year at the moment. And it is like Groundhog Day, month and season. I despair, to be honest. It felt like we had at least 80% possession. We actually played some really nice football. and no end product, like I say every year. I do not understand how he cannot see we don't need a striker. It doesn't make sense to me. The man is not an idiot. You know, I've met him as well, and quite a couple of years back, and he was very charismatic and very intelligent. He's either the best salesman in the world, or I don't know what's going on. His stubbornness, or his views on bringing through, you know, from the reserves. I just don't know. It's not his money. So that doesn't make sense either. So there must be a striker on this planet, maybe not a Galactico, that can fulfill all those assists by Ozil for a start. It must be. Look, Giroud is Giroud. I've never been a fan. At the very beginning, I really wasn't. Then I became a little bit of a fan of his. And up to about January, he didn't do too badly. Since January, I'm not sure if he's scored more than 2 goals, but I've said it for a long time, as many do. He's not good enough. And nor's Theo. I thought 2 seasons ago, Theo, put him down the middle, show us what he's made of. He's not made of anything anymore. I think he got his big contract. I don't know, he doesn't seem like he's too big for his boots when he's interviewed. He doesn't seem like that, but I don't know what's going on there. And then on the plus side, you've got players like Welbeck, who gives his all. Iwobi looks a fantastic prospect. You know, we have got a great team. For me, man of the match today was Sanchez. I know he gives the ball away a lot, but he did not stop. He's back to where he was. Disappointed in a way for Czech, because as far as I'm concerned, you know, he shouldn't be letting that ball in for the goal. And I'm disappointed really because Ospina, in my eyes, hasn't done anything wrong. And if Czech isn't ready, then I don't see the urge to play him. But I suppose he's got us playing one game. Not really sure what really to say about today. It wasn't terrible. We weren't awful. They weren't all over us. I mean, I heard Pardew interviewed on the radio, and he said he came to, what's that word? Stop us, I suppose. And on the counter-attack takers, he said he knew after half-time that Palace were going to get better, because they weren't good. They weren't good at all.
Oh, no, they were not.
Yeah, but they weren't terrible. I thought they were good in defence. I think how many balls we whipped in and they just whipped them out. You know what it is? Honestly, I tweeted this. I'm so bored of this shit. I actually left with 2 minutes to go.
Oh,
I've never left a game early, ever. I get so pissed off that I can't be asked to sit in traffic for them, because, I mean, all right, 2 minutes doesn't make much difference, and by the time we'd got down the stairs, the game would finish, but we never leave early, ever, especially not at 1-0. There's no chance we were going to score. You know, he annoys me with his in 69-minute substitutions. You know, as soon as, I don't know what's going on with Ramsey, we could talk about each player, you know. I feel sorry. I mean, you know, I don't know if you know, but I'm a massive, massive fan of Ozil. People love him, people don't. I'm not fussed. I know how I feel, and I felt from day one. I think, what must he think? Him, Sanchez, Welbeck I love his passion, but he's not a prolific goal scorer, is he?
No.
You know, but I do love him. I'm not criticising him. He made, he assisted Sanchez for the headed goal. I love him. Iwobi's great, but he's not the finished article, is he? And that's great and everything, play him in the cups and stuff, but this was the season, boys. This was it. You know, we all knew at the beginning if we bought what we wanted. I've been quoted as saying, because I do the big Arsenal discussion for Arsenal Fan TV, I said we'd walk the league if we bought those 1 or 2 players we needed. And I've been criticised for saying that, being called arrogant or whatever. But I'm sorry, we would have walked the league if you'd have bought those 2 players. If we'd have bought what we needed.
Just to comment on that, I think that we obviously we are lacking personnel. There are definitely areas of the team that need improving, but it's if you look over the years, the game that we had today with us scoring a goal and then playing like we're 5-0 up, not taking our chances, and then get hit on the counter, that's happened for years. It doesn't matter who the players in the team are.
Yeah.
It's the way that Wenger sets his side out. And it's a mentality thing, it baffles me. And at the same time, it's baffling, and it's not surprising how we do this time and time again, because you're so used to it. But every time you still kind of roll your eyes in disbelief and just think, how has this happened again? How have the team not learned? I mean, when we were 1-0 up and we're wasting all these chances, I mean, I understand that Palace were putting a lot of men behind the ball, but there just didn't seem to be this kind of urgency or killer instinct that. And when you're on top of a team like that for such a long period, as we were, at the beginning of the second half, I thought we were very much on the front foot and dominating possession. We created a few chances. I think when that happens after a while, and you're winning, you're kind of enjoying yourself, you're playing well, and you kind of think, oh, we're going to win this 2 or 3-0. The goals will come. But what astounds me is that having fallen for this trap time and time again, we did it again today. Palace, when they scored. I think there was one chance where Cech kind of tipped over a chance that was right down his throat, 10, 15 minutes before, over the bar. But apart from that, there was literally nothing. Palace just didn't. And, Pardew can say that he set his team out, but he will have known that they were incredibly lucky to come away with anything from this game. We've had games. I remember playing Sunderland and Newcastle both at home earlier in the season, where both of them gave us trouble on the break. And I think in both games we were lucky to win, or I think we beat Newcastle 1-0 and Sunderland 3-1 or something. But in both those games, the opposition team really caused us some trouble, and we kind of scraped through in the end. Whereas today, Palace were dreadful. They really weren't good at all. We weren't that great, but we were still dominating. But
Absolutely. I think through 20, 25 minutes, we had 85% possession and 0 shots on goal. It was terrible.
But the thing was, once we got the goal, I thought we were going to go to half time with one of the most underwhelming first halves of football I've seen us play all year. We weren't terrible because Palace were just defending so much. It's difficult to break them down. But at the same time, it was just such a damp squib of a game. I don't know what it was like in the stadium, Amanda, but I was drifting off slightly in that first. Yeah. Having come down from the Leicester game, which was full of intensity, and I'd been up at 6 to go to work, so I was sitting on the sofa having my drink, and I feel myself just drifting away.
So Amanda, do tell us what it was like in the stadium, because I know watching it over here in the States on TV, it sounded very, very quiet.
It wasn't the toxic atmosphere that it has been before. I remember Palace fans singing at the beginning, "Is this a library?" because it was so quiet. There was nothing to raise us. I was pissed off that Leicester didn't win, to get further ahead of Spurs, because I'm telling you now, if Spurs win the league, I'll have to emigrate.
No kidding.
And I think that...
Rick, we're coming over, mate.
Yeah, Rick, have you got a spare room? Because I need to come over.
You can fight over it.
It wasn't toxic. It was... Honestly, I was just saying to someone on Twitter that I know, I nearly dozed off in the first half. I was just sitting there thinking, I've been going since I was 4 years old, and I'm 46. Yeah, I'm still 46. And I remember the 80s, sitting there and watching like Birmingham at home or something, when half the ground was empty and I had my feet over the seat in front and we were just bored. That's how I felt today. I actually felt like that. I sat there and I looked at my dad and I thought, should we just go home? Because it is very, very poor show. The atmosphere was nothing. I can only describe it as nothing. Dull, dismal. It wasn't toxic.
Yeah, and I guess that's because, honestly, we really don't have anything left to play for. I guess that's the contributing factor.
Well, there's no motivating. We have to. When what we want to achieve now, realistically, is to finish ahead of Spurs. Finish ahead of United, City. Try and finish. But there's no way you can, as a fan, you can be motivated by that after years of finishing ahead of Tottenham, years of finishing in the top four. In some years, that was a good achievement. But in a year where Tottenham and Leicester are the two teams going for the title, and we've been gifted this opportunity where Chelsea have had an absolute nightmare, United have been poor, City have had really mixed fortunes. I mean, people have spoken about this all season, but this was the year, wasn't it? This was the year. This would have been we're off the back of 2 FA Cup wins. With suddenly we've got money in our pocket, we've got Czech, we've got Özil, we've got Alexis, we've got some players like Coquelin and Monreal have really risen to the challenge. You know, I really felt that this season we were going to be able to do it, and that was before these other teams collapsed. And what angers me the most is that when this opportunity has been presented to us, we haven't in any way taken it by the scruff of the neck. I mean, somehow we've beaten Leicester twice, we've beaten City, we've beaten United, we've had some good results against the big teams, but then we've lost twice to Chelsea. We're having the worst season since they were bought out over a decade ago.
And those hurt. Oh my God.
They were there. We've lost to Swansea at home, who are again relegation battlers. We've lost to West Brom. We drew with Norwich. Just so many poor results, and it's astounding when you think how far behind how far behind we are from Leicester, and we took 6 points off them, and they took none from us, and we're still this far behind.
Yeah.
So we're at the point of the season where I think not only does it feel like, you know, it's not surprising that we're battling for fourth with 4 games to go with the title just out of reach, but it is surprising that we're behind Leicester and Tottenham, and that's what really stings. And I just think there's a general resignation in the air. You know, you look at what's going to happen next season. You know, Guardiola's coming in at City. Chelsea have got Conte, who's a very competent manager. United look like they're going to get Mourinho. They're all going to spend huge amounts of money. And even if we get our shit together, are we going to be able to, unless we have the most incredible turnaround, we're going to be nowhere near the title next season.
Yeah.
And I think what's so annoying is that there's so much that's gone wrong that is just so endemic of Wenger, of what his, you know, people say that the way your team plays is representative of the manager and his personality. And that's what this Arsenal team is. It's just a shambles at the moment. And, we've had so many bad results this season that you just wonder what it's going to take for change to come. Because
yeah. But before we move on, just as far as this game, I mean, Amanda said she was about to fall asleep. It was nothing happening in the stadium. We couldn't hear anything over the TV other than the announcers. So, you know, we were just trying to make our own fun. I know we're sitting around with Gateway Gooners. That's who we are in St. Louis. One of the announcers, I don't know if you get it over there with the same announcers or not, but we had an early free kick, and Ozil was going to take it, and he's like, oh, he's going to dink it right in there. He's the dink master. And we started, and then when
no, they don't say that.
They don't say that yet, because we got a kick out of that. And,
well, to be honest, I don't blame them for trying to brighten things up. I mean, it was very strange.
Well, we were doing it too. We were mocking it, and then when Welbeck dinked one over the top for a goal, like, oh my God, Ozil's that title is under threat.
That's the thing. I mean, it was very strange because it was right. Obviously, Amanda, you've been at the game, but, you know, before the match, I've been watching the Leicester West Ham game, which was, you know, really exciting final minutes, lots of controversy, big decisions, titles on the line, and then we head to Arsenal where it's, oh yeah, we're battling for fourth, and Palace are going to defend, and we're going to pass and pass and pass. So it was very, very much a big come down from the excitement of watching the other game. And then, but anyway, we got the goal on half time. You know, we didn't really deserve it, but you think, great, we've got it. Came out in the second half, and we started to play with a bit more vigour, a bit more verve again, and you start to see confidence going throughout the team. But as I said, we get too confident, we forget the scoreline, we forget that we're vulnerable, and we just fail to take our chances. And I actually thought that Özil had a good game today. I think he created 8 chances today, or something similar to that. Alexis, I think, as Amanda said, I thought he played well. You know, you can frustrate Alexis, but he was pretty good today on the ball. I think he beat a few players and created a few chances, looked very exciting. And then
we were feeling confident too in the bar, because I know when in the second half we were joking around about one of the guys was joking around how handsome our team is compared to other teams. Again, we're trying to make our own fun, and then we bring on Giroud and Ramsey. He goes, "Oh, we're just going to wipe the floor with handsomeness against these guys." And then of course it all went the wrong way, and we concede the goal, and it's almost like it's so familiar, it's so frustrating, and we lose it. You know, we lose our minds.
I mean, it's strange because you always have these results, 1 or 2 a season maybe, but this time, we used to, when you go 1-0 up against a small team at home, I say small, a team in the bottom half of the table, we would nearly always win that game. You know, we would go on, maybe score 1 or 2 more, and it would be relatively comfortable. But every time this season, I just don't ever feel comfortable until we're 2-3 up with 10 to go. Otherwise, it just feels like we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot, as we did last week against West Ham.
Yeah.
And,
So let me throw it back to Amanda with Palace playing so deep. I mean, it was we counted. I think JP counted there were 9 or 10 people in their box, not just sitting deep, actually in the box, defending against us. I know you mentioned we need a better striker, but what do you think we need to do to break down teams that do that to us?
Well, we've always had this issue, haven't we? When teams come and park the bus, we can't break them down. So if we can't, if it's a regular occurrence, surely the manager should be looking at this and thinking, right, we need tactic B now. That's what we need. But he plays tactic A every single time against any team. There's been a couple of times I went to Man City away last year, and he changed the tactics completely. He let them come at us. We hardly had any possession, and we won. It was brilliant. I remember sitting there, because I was with the Man City lot, going, I'll take a draw. You know, we never beat any of the top 4. And they were like, no, we're going to walk it. They were very cocky like that. And then all of a sudden, I'm starting to watch us play, thinking, we don't normally play like this. And it was brilliant. And that's the one time I've seen him do that. I don't often see him change tactics unless it's me, unless I'm not aware. But he needs to, and he doesn't. We need to be fast and furious and get men down the flanks. We need a striker in the box. We need a change of manager, unfortunately. And I know I've said it for probably, I wanted him to leave when we beat Hull, because I felt I wanted him to go on a high. I want him to leave with dignity and respect for what he's done for us. You know, he's brought us tremendous players, tremendous silverware, and he has done that. But he's going to lose that legacy soon, and it's going to be, there's more and more and more people who want him out. They want him gone. You know, and that is such a sad thing to see. I don't want to see that, and I will never abuse him in that way. I get angry with him because of the tactics and the substitutes sometimes. Why did he take Iwobi and Welbeck off today? I'll never know. It's not as though they're bloody tired, is it? Yeah. So I don't understand some of the things he does, but then I'm not a football manager and I'm not paid £8 million a year, and I haven't got his football knowledge, you know, and that's fair enough. I'll take that. But just sometimes, I would like him to make a substitute when it matters. 50 minutes. Yeah. You know, do it. Be a bit more Mourinho-esque in that respect. I hate Mourinho, we all do. But when he can see something's wrong, he doesn't wait to 69 minutes. He's not
a proactive
it.
Manager.
Yeah. That's
he waits
the
for something to go wrong and
proactive.
Yeah. So that dovetail. We had several questions posed by listeners. I'll read one off from Martin Robertson at Martin Robertson. We'll throw it to Callum first. He said, does it take finishing out of the top 4 to get rid of Wenger? I'd take a year in Europa. Now, we had a lot of questions similar, but go ahead and talk about what is it going to take to make change within Arsenal.
Can I just say something?
Sure.
We're all Arsenal fans are very Europa snobbish. I'm one of them.
I am too.
Oh yeah, most are. But after watching the Liverpool game this week, and after watching the atmosphere and experiencing what it's like to win a European night and get into a semi-final of a Europa Cup, I'd like to be in it, because I think that is something we could win. We will never win the Champions League under Wenger. So what is the point in being in it? For what reason? What, to attract the top players? We don't do that anyway. We've got 2 top players. That was Sanchez and Ozil, right? I'm sure they'd like to win a European Cup, the Europa Cup, right? So I've sort of changed my mind a little bit about this, because I was all like, no, don't want Thursday night, don't want Sunday football, don't want to go to the depths of Russia. But you know what? A competition we could win. And I think we should take the League Cup seriously as well. We've become very elitist. You know, Sky have made us like this, the Premier League. I've always said Abramovich. It all changed football when all that started to happen. And I just feel that we should not be snobbish. We don't deserve to be snobbish. Anyway, we haven't got that right. We're not the Uniteds and the City and the Chelseas of this world. Chelsea we can just discount for one season. You know, they've been awful this season, and yesterday was the worst I've ever seen them play. But at the end of the day, I think we have to get out of the top 4, because I feel it's like a cocoon, because it would take us coming 5th, 6th or 7th for Wenger to go. He'll either resign, because remember it'll be on his terms, or the board will have words. I don't think the board have got the balls to do anything. They're earning millions out of him. It's a business. People need to wake up and realise that. And while he is in the top 4, he is doing his remit. He told me that. He told us all that the top 4 is where he has to be to pay the debt back. That was about 2-3 years ago. And so he's doing his job properly. That's what the board said. You don't honestly think Stan Kroenke worries about whether we win the league or not. He couldn't give a flying, I'm not even going to say it, but he couldn't care less. He is about the dollar. And the dollar is good at Arsenal. And I rue the day David Dean brought him in, and I'm sure he rues the day as well because he's a big, passionate Arsenal supporter. He may not rue the day as a money man because he's made millions out of him, but I'm fed up.
And I will say this as somebody from St. Louis, Missouri, who's all too familiar with Stan Kroenke. What Amanda hesitated to say was he doesn't give a flying fuck about winning. She pulled the reins up a little bit, but yeah, Stan Kroenke is not the guy he's not the guy that's going to make a difference.
No.
He's not a good owner. He's not hurting the club, but he's not progressing the club either. And from that standpoint, he's just a poor owner, and I'm sure just that's my tainted, he screwed over St. Louis and we all hate him vision, but that's the way we feel over here.
Is he not moving one of your teams to Los Angeles?
Already did. Already did. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad that isn't a thing in England, I have to say. But with regards to the question, I mean, I'm always very wary of this notion that we need things to get so bad, for Wenger to leave. I mean, I've seen some people, they want us to have a Chelsea-esque season and finish 10th to force change. But, I don't think one season outside the Champions League would force Kroenke's hand or the board. I think they would just say, well, Wenger's he's got us in the top 4 for 20 years. We're not going to suddenly one bad season is going to change things. So I do worry that people who have this notion that if we have a disastrous season, that'll be it and he'll go. I think it might not necessarily. We don't know what's going to happen because we've not been in that situation. He's always delivered on that. And as Amanda and yourself said, Rick, Kroenke is about the money and he's not about the trophies and the silverware, and he's very open about that. Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, finishing top 4 and getting Champions League football every season why would he want anything else? If he doesn't care about on-field success, he doesn't care about football, there's no motivation for him there. I'm sure he enjoyed his day at Wembley the last couple of years, but that's not going to motivate him as much as a nice big dividend, is it? Yeah. So, I would say, again, and what Amanda says about the Europa League, when I watched Liverpool last week, I watched that and thought, I wouldn't be adverse to that. That looks like it could be good fun, and it looks like a competition we could challenge for, as opposed to Champions League, which feels like we'll just go out as soon as you meet any half decent side. That'll be it. So my opinion would be I don't want to finish 5th this season. I want us to finish as high as possible. I'm not of the opinion that finishing 5th will be the end of Wenger. I think it will take more than that, and I don't. I think if we finished outside of Europe for a couple of seasons, outside the Champions League, then Ertzwan Sanchez would be gone. So even if we do get a good manager, we've lost 2 of our best players. Is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. There's so many what ifs. But my general opinion is I will never want us to. I can't ever picture myself not wanting Arsenal to win games and not wanting us to finish as high as possible. And you can get into all the what ifs of whether it's better for us in the long run because Wenger will leave. It's too convoluted situation and too unpredictable for me to really want that, and it goes against everything as a fan. You want us to win games, so yeah. I'm not. I think again Amanda's right about us maybe being a bit snobby about the Europa League, given that we've done so little in the Champions League for so long. I mean, I'd rather get to the semi-final of the Europa League than go out in the last 16, the Champions League every year.
Yeah. So Amanda, did you have something else to say before I try to answer the question?
Yeah, sorry. I mean, just getting back to the business side of it, there was just something I wanted to bring up. For people that are on the other podcast, people that listen to the other podcast know that I go with my dad. It's always been my dad and me, and obviously some other family, and I've got other friends as well. But it's always been my dad's thing. He's been going, I think it's 56 years, and he's been a season ticket holder for 52. Just think about that. I've not even been alive that long. So 52 years, he's paid money to Arsenal every single season. And he sort of dropped a bombshell on it a little bit on me today to say that he can't afford to go to next season, and he's not sure. He said he's not going to renew. He did speak to Arsenal about this, about paying the OAP price, but the rules at Arsenal are that if you pay OAP price, you have to go and sit in the OAP section, which is, I think, lower tier around the clock end side. I'm not sure, so can't quote me on that, but I know it's roughly £1,000 cheaper than what he was paying. Now, the problem with that is we don't want to move seat. We've sat there in that equivalent at Highbury as well. He has for over 50 years. I think it's absolutely disgusting the way they treat people. Let him pay the OAP price and let him sit in his seat. Why do we need an OAP section? Why? You don't have a women's section, you don't have a men's section. You know, why would you need to do that? So when he wrote to Arsenal, that was straight on. That's their policy. I'm disgusted, and I'd love to get it out there because we're all going to get old. I don't want to have to move in years to come if I can't afford it in 15, 20 years' time. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I feel that it's all changed. Today, you know, if my dad doesn't go, and he isn't going to go, then that's it for me, because that was my thing with my dad. You know, I know things change and, you know, people, it doesn't always stay the same, but that was always going to be my thing. And he actually said to me today he thought he would be there until they put him in his box, you know, until he couldn't walk anymore. He's perfectly fine at walking. But the way they treat him and the way they treat older people and the way they've treated a lot of us, you know, for different reasons. I mean, you know, what we're paying, and when they wanted to charge us another 12 quid on our ticket for Barcelona or whatever it was, I just think it's not a community club anymore. It's not a family club. It's not our club. And I sat there today and I thought, I'm slowly falling out of love with this lot. And until Wenger goes and things change, I can understand why people are. I've got a friend of mine that's gone for years. He gave his tickets to his son. Just said to amuse him, I'm not interested anymore until he's gone. So, you know, I'd love someone at Arsenal to come and explain to me why he can pay OAP price, but he has to move. So that's my little rant.
It definitely seems like, obviously, it's what Amanda's saying. It's one story, but it's no. When you told us about this, Amanda, it doesn't surprise anyone, does it? I mean,
it doesn't sit right though, does it? It's just not right.
And it's something that I think there. You know, this kind of lack of connection with the fans. I mean, I think you get the impression, especially in modern football, and Arsenal seem to have it worse than many clubs. There is this kind of there's a lack of connection. There's more and more. It's becoming that fans are customers. They're not fans. Yeah. They're not. And the thing is, in any other economy or business, you know, if the product you like, isn't good enough for you anymore. So if it upsets you and angers you and it just doesn't do it for you anymore, you leave. You try something else. With football, you're kind of tied to a club for life, and that gives clubs a lot of the ability to kind of just almost take the fans for granted, knowing that, well, they're Arsenal fans. They've been, like, your dad's been Arsenal fan for 50 years. He's not going to change now and become a Brentford fan or whoever. It's done. That's his team. And, you know, what you do wonder, you know, is this going to hurt the club in the long run? This just kind of general, what you talked about, Amanda, was one story, but on a general scale, that what you mentioned about the Barcelona ticket price, that sort of thing, I'm sure, you know, people who go to the Emirates every week and pay the prices you do for a season ticket, and you watch that shit today. And I understand when you go and watch a team play, you have no guarantee that you're still going to win a match, but it's the lack of investment in the team. It's the comments that Wenger makes in the press. It's Gazidis coming out and saying we can buy any player we want, bar Messi and Ronaldo, and then we buy no one apart from Czech in the summer. It's all these little things that add up. Where, you know, I saw earlier today. I got back from work about 1, and I saw that someone had a free ticket for today, and I kind of looked at the time, and I live outside London. I thought, maybe I could make it, but then I just thought, actually, yeah, I can't be asked. It was going to be a rush anyway. But yeah, thought crossed my mind. But then I watched the game and I thought, God, I'm so glad I didn't pay 35 quid for that or 40 quid for that. And I've for this season especially, we've scored less goals at home than Newcastle, who are probably going to get relegated. And it's just, I feel for the fans, and it's one thing, if you're in League Two and your team's shite and it's shite football every week, but you're paying a fraction of what you pay at Arsenal, and obviously the standard's better. But do you feel like you get your money's worth, Amanda? I mean,
no, not at the moment.
So
you don't go on that as well, because you support a team through good, bad, and ugly, don't you? And there's been fantastic times like the Invincibles. We got more than our money's worth, and the double years and stuff like that. But for a club to be that cold and that so distant from fans now, it's not our club anymore. It's like an alien. They're so distant. You can't even stand up at certain games. You can't. When I go to away games, it's phenomenal. I love it. I'll always be Arsenal through and through. I will probably keep my season ticket and see how it goes for a couple of seasons. I will miss my dad terribly. He's the biggest gooner on the planet. He's wanted Wenger out for about 5-6 years. But but I can see he's lost his pizzazz going, because it's the same old shit every bloody season. It doesn't help, does it? It really doesn't help that it's groundhog every year. When does this become enough? Enough is enough. I don't know.
Yeah, the team's not progressing, but the ticket prices are, huh?
Yeah.
That's pretty sad.
And all I would say about one final thing about that is that I do think there's two things you have to remember about this, is that, first of all, the problems at this club do not start and end with Wenger. There is, when Wenger leaves, whenever that is, that's this summer, that's next summer, if that's in 10 years, God forbid, we're not going to suddenly be like, boom, we're going to compete. The issue is that we have someone like Kroenke at the helm who, is he going to try and get Diego Simeone from Atletico? A guy as fiery and as passionate as him, a guy who will demand the best? No, of course he won't. He won't be interested in him. He'll be interested in, right, who can I get who will toe the line and will do enough just to get us up there, but not really going for it, So there is that to remember, and it does annoy me when there is some people do think that once we get rid of Wenger, it will be good. But saying that, at the same time, when you've had the same manager for 2 decades and things aren't working out, you're just craving something new, something fresh. When you saw Klopp go to Liverpool early in the season, there was that kind of like, oh man, imagine being that excited about the manager again, about having some fresh ideas. And I think we've seen the same group of players, for a few years, and they struggle from the same problems that so many groups of players under Arsene Wenger have suffered from, that it just feels like the issue just isn't with the players, it's with the manager, who just cannot get. You look at the team today and you feel like a better manager gets better performances out of those players, and he gets a better season out of them.
Yeah.
So I think that whole feeling with the club and that kind of disconnect and that feeling that we're being run up the garden path, if we had a new manager in charge, I just think people would be kind of energized and would be more like, oh, let's see what happens. We might not be in the top 4 in the first season with a new manager, but it will be fresh. We hope it will be a new way of playing football, a new way of approaching games. And I think if you have that, all these things that the club do that piss people off become, obviously, the incident you talk about, Amanda, is very personal. And I think it's any way of, no matter who the manager is, it's got nothing to do with what the club have done there. It leaves a very bitter taste in the mouth, irrespective of that. But the general discontent that is in the club and that apathy we felt today at the stadium, I think that goes if we have a better manager, a new manager, someone who's going to just give things a bit of a shake-up, and that's what we need more than anything.
Okay, so before I have my own comments on the manager, but I want to go back a moment to the ticket prices, because I did post some graphs, some images, and I think it's Swiss Ramble probably did a much better job of presenting it than I did, but
it was yours is very good.
The point being that Arsenal are fairly competitive, at least in the Premier League, with revenues by team. We're with the tops, but when you look at the difference between our performance on commercial revenue versus match day revenue, it is dramatically different. We are 5th and lagging, well behind the other 4 clubs when it comes to commercial revenue. Now, to me, that's the club's responsibility. That's the board. That's Gazidis and the rest of those. But at the same time, Arsenal are the most expensive match day experience in the Premier League. They are charging fans more than anybody else. So my provocative question, and I think we already know Amanda's answer, is, are Arsenal making their revenues, are they competitive on revenue based on the backs of fans rather than their own performance? And I think the graphs show it that that's true. They are lagging, and they're charging the fans a premium to make up that difference. Any comments? No? We already covered that.
Dude, I think and with the graphs you showed me that you put out with the data was reminiscent of what I saw on the Swiss Ramble blog post. If you don't know it, the Swiss Ramble is the guy when it comes to football finances, and he did a very good post about us, as he has done for years, about our finances. And the thing he did was compared our income with other teams and where it comes from. And as Rick says, we are up there, I think, above every other team in Europe or in England, and if not the best, we're definitely in the top three of clubs who, their match day income is up there with the best. Worryingly, our commercial income is quite a bit down, and the money we get, obviously we get the TV money, but that in the Premier League, that is split pretty evenly amongst the top teams. And of course in Spain, Barcelona and Real Madrid have something of a monopoly with regards to that. But yeah, I mean, what you want is our money to be coming from advertising companies, from sports companies who are paying for advertising, and from TV deals rather than from fans. Obviously, I understand that we want to be able to compete financially, and you want to be able to maximise the money you can bring in, but we do seem to be struggling a bit. I mean, I remember when the Puma deal was announced, it seemed like it was a really good increase on the night one, and then United blew that out of the water with their Adidas deal. And we have to be realistic and say that United are always going to be able to command a bigger sponsorship. But I think fans would be able to, if we said, look, we can't make the money that United and Bayern Munich and Real Madrid make from commercial deals, and we have the TV money, but they would be okay with the fact that we didn't make as much money if we weren't charging the highest prices, because that is directly or indirectly linked to how good your product is, and the product we're offering is nowhere near, it's not worth the money.
And I think the commercial revenue performance is probably similar to what we're talking about as changes on the football side of things as well, where this club and this board are too apathetic to make any changes, to progress, to improve. They're willing to accept this. I hate to call it mediocrity, because we are in the top four. We're playing Champions League every year. It's not mediocrity, but from an Arsenal standpoint, it feels like it is, right? I mean, we're supposed to be a top club, and the fact that we're not performing, it feels like mediocrity. And I think that leads to the malaise you see at the game, the players' general malaise too, because, and we'll go on about the club and Wenger in a little bit more here in a second. So I don't think there's enough accountability in the club. Clive has mentioned it, being around the club years ago, that Wenger is revered at that club. Nobody questions him. And I think that's a problem. When things aren't going right, nobody is called out. Nothing has changed. When somebody does something wrong, he doesn't lose a spot. When somebody is playing better than somebody, like right now, I made the comment today that, Ramsey's coming on fresh off injury when we have other options on the bench. And I'm like, Ramsey must have pictures of Wenger or something.
Well, the damning example is Walcott coming on ahead of Campbell.
That too.
How is Theo Walcott getting minutes ahead of Joel Campbell?
Yeah.
What is wrong with Joel Campbell? He played so well for us.
Absolutely.
And then he's been on the subs bench.
He's not Wenger's man, and Wenger's very stubborn with players. If he thinks that, if he thinks they're going to be great, like players like Denilson, he'll stick with them for far too long. And there are other players that he just doesn't give the time of day to. And I tweeted after the game, I said, if I was Joel Campbell, I'd be on the phone to my agent saying, get me a club that will actually appreciate me, because he came into the team, he finally got his chance, and Wenger kind of didn't have a choice because so many injuries that he had to play him. Played very well. And I cannot get my head around, I can get my head around why Walcott gets more games. It's because he's paid 140 grand a week. And if we play rotation option Joel Campbell, who probably earns about a third of that, ahead of it's kind of like a indictment of Walcott and us offering him that deal. I think in his heart of hearts, Wenger probably thinks we should have sold Walcott because he has been nothing short of atrocious the last few weeks and months.
Yeah.
He had a very few good games early in the season up front, but for a long time he has just looked unbelievably bad. And
that's another viewer or listener question we have from Rob Kenton at Rob Kenton. Why is Theo so confused by a football?
Did you see what?
Go ahead, Amanda.
Sorry, did you see what I tweeted back?
I did. Go ahead and tell everybody.
I just think he's confused.
Yeah. Not even by a football, just confused in general.
I just think, I don't know what's going on with him. He either just is there for the money, or he's angry that he's not first choice, or he's just not good enough. You know, a lot of people have been on his back this season, and I just think that I can't put my finger on it. I really thought he was going to make it with us, and now I think we should just sell him. Get him gone.
Callum?
He's just too limited a player. I mean, and the thing is, do you remember when we all talk about Walcott's pace, but do you remember when his pace actually counted for something? When you remember when he darted up the Anfield pitch to set that ball up for Arshavin, or that other one again at Anfield when he laid up, was it Julio Baptiste? Oh no, Adebayor. And he was this young, exciting player whose pace terrified defenders.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nowadays, if you got Walcott up against you, just stand still and he'll fall over the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember that run when he first came on? He ran at the defender. The defender said, "I'm not going anywhere," and Walcott basically just didn't know what to do, and he fell over. Now, look, he's obviously a better player than he is showing right now because he's obviously low on confidence. Yeah. But for that kind of money, man, he earns the same amount of Alexis Sanchez. They're on the same wage. And for whatever you want to think about Alexis, when he's out of form, he fucking busts his balls. He won't stop trying. He'll take players on. He'll hit crosses and he'll shoot. Walcott just seems to kind of exist on the peripheries, really offering nothing. And the worry is now is that we could have sold him for 10, 15 million when his contract was last up for renewal.
Yeah.
But now we've got him on 140 grand a week, and no one's going to pay that. And people say West Ham will buy him. I don't think West Ham would. West Ham are too good for him.
Exactly. They wouldn't want him.
West Ham
would he get in their team? West Ham could afford him.
West Ham afford him? Can they?
West Ham,
on his wages?
With that, well, put it this way: with the deal they've got on the stadium, if they really wanted Walcott, they could pay him. But the point is, they wouldn't pay Walcott that money because
that's what I'm saying. And would he play for this?
I'm saying they could pay him, pay that money for him if they thought, well, this guy can come in and immediately improve our team. No, I wouldn't take him. I don't think he does. I think you take him as a squad option, maybe, and think maybe if we can maybe get the best out of him, but it's a big risk, a risk that they wouldn't pay that money for. So we've now got this player who is one of the best paid players in England, one of the best paid players at the club, and we need to get rid. I think like Wenger, he's just been here for too long. He's
too comfortable.
We know what he's
right.
We know he is too comfortable, Rick. That's a good point. I think you're right. I think he just knows he's got a good little life here at Arsenal. The manager likes him. He lives in London. He earns an incredible wage, and I'm
a Theo fan. I've always enjoyed it. I mean, his pace was devastating and always frightened defenders. I always wanted him to play, and a couple of years ago, I would have given him that money. But now. Yeah. Obviously, he hasn't had games, right? He's not playing to his potential right now, just because he hasn't been playing at all. But he's also experienced enough. He should sure as hell be doing better than he is.
Well, exactly, and you can't afford to give a player 4 or 5 games to start, to bed in, to come back into it, and be like, "We'll give you some games to be shit before you get your back together." Oh, it's just a real shame. I mean, even when he signed his contract, I thought it was a good deal. I thought, well, we might as well keep him. We can always, retain his value. And I did think Walcott was a big player for us, even if it wasn't, the first name on the team sheet. I thought, well, he's a good player. He has been for a while. But the last few months have just been terrible, and it drives me mad every time I see him come on ahead of Campbell. And Campbell, I think would be a really good option to have as someone who could play 20, 30 games a season, come playing cup games, can give us options off the bench. But when he's been treated like this, I don't think he should stay. I think he should leave. I think he should get out while he can, as one fan once said.
All right.
At a train station in Stoke.
Yeah. Going back to Amanda, another question. Who asked this one? Tiberall, I guess it's Dash Cohabo Berlin is at Cohabo Berlin. I don't know who this is. Anyway, where has the fighting spirit gone? When did Arsenal decide to lose control of matches? Is that just personnel?
Swansea, Man United, to name but a couple.
Chelsea twice this season.
Chelsea.
West Brom.
So where's the fighting spirit gone? Where is it?
I'd have had Wenger out when we lost 8-2 at Old Trafford. I don't think any club has done that before, a size of our club, and got away with that. But, okay, back to present day. Where's our fighting spirit gone? We haven't got any captains. We haven't got any leaders. We haven't got anyone that's screaming around the fucking pitch. Oh, my God, I swore. I do apologise.
You did.
There's the fighting spirit.
Princess Gooner swore. We haven't got that. You know, I can tell you now, and I don't know how old you two are, Callum. I know you're quite young. But if Tony Adams was on this pitch with this lot, he would be pulling them to pieces because he was a proper captain. Okay?
Yeah.
Yes, he had his faults. We all know that. But we haven't got that. So we never had the fighting spirit. Who did it? Who? You know, just quickly go back to Theo a second, okay? I was at Anfield in January, and I was quite low down. I don't normally watch football like from row 4, but that's where I was. And I was in line with what Theo did for their first goal, and I swear I wanted to run on the pitch and have a word with him. He was in defence in the penalty area trying to clear a ball, and he wasn't clearing it, and they scored from that. Now, to me, that is a disgrace, because you've got to clear the ball and you've got to be alert, and he's not. He's earning God knows what. He's not good enough. So Adams would have got hold of him. I can't even tell you what would have happened to him. Second half, he'd have been a much better player. That's all I'm going to say. So
Okay.
who got hold of Theo at that moment and bollocked him? Except me and about 5,000 other Arsenal fans. I could not believe I was screaming at him to clear the ball. That's just one tiny incident.
And probably cussed again too, right?
Yes, I did cuss a little bit. And at the end of the day, I looked around that pitch and thought someone needs to slap him, because that was a disgrace what he did. There wasn't anyone. There isn't anyone. Who? I mean, go through our team and see who could be a captain. You know, Czech, maybe.
Czech probably thinks, my God, what have I walked into?
I feel.
Probably, I think in his advancing years, he's probably happy to be playing regularly and you know.
I don't feel Czech would feel like that. I don't think Ozil feels like that. Well, I hope not, because I want him to still be here. What I do feel is that I don't think he's lost the dressing room. I don't think we're at that stage. I think the players still love him, to be honest. I think the players are earning good money. We're not 18th, are we? What are we, 4th? Normal. No progress.
I think with regards to the dressing room, I think you'll get the players like Walcott, for example, who have never known anything else or haven't played at a high level, that probably love it. But guys like Özil will have played in title-winning teams, would have played alongside Ronaldo and he won the World Cup with a phenomenal German side. He knows what it's like to have that winner's mentality. There's no way that he can be in the Arsenal dressing room and not notice the difference, because it's too big a difference. You don't win the league, you don't win the World Cup without having a killer instinct, without having a manager that will bollock you if you fall out of line.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he's going to leave. I hate it when people talk down the club, but realistically, if you're Mesut Ozil right now, you're the best number 10 in the world. You're playing out of your skin for most of the season. You're creating chance after chance, but you're losing the league title to Leicester City and to Tottenham. And he thinks, how old is he now? 26, 25, 26, 27. You know, these years you only get once. He'll only be in his prime for another year, 2 years. Why would you sign another deal at Arsenal? If you're being really honest, I mean, I do think that you don't know what motivates a player. You know, for Özil, he might love the fact that he's loved by the fans, that he plays every week, that Wenger gives him the freedom to play the way he wants to play. But for a player to have won what he's won and be as good as he is, I don't really see why you'd stay. I think the first 2 years he was here, I think we were progressing. We won the FA Cup the first year. Second year, signed Alexis, won the FA Cup again. This year, signed Czech, and then we've had a really poor season. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to the contract negotiations, I mean, aside from paying him $400,000 a week or something, and again, I said we don't know his motivations, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if he said, "Nah, I'm not going to sign a new deal, and I'd like to move to a club like if Barcelona or Bayern Munich come knocking for him. Why would you stay with us?" And it hurts me to say that because I think when Ernst was signed, it felt like this was the turning point. It felt like we've got the money, we've got the star name. When Ernst joins, we're going to sign more great players, and we signed Alexis the next summer, and we won the FA Cup, and it felt like we're growing. We're finally going to build on the potential we've had for so many years, and we won the FA Cup again. We played really well for a period, and we back-to-back FA Cups. There's nothing to be sniffed at, but again, as I said, footballers' careers, they're very short, especially in their prime years. They don't last forever, and I just think I can't remember what the original question was, mate.
Where is the fighting spirit gone?
Anyway,
I'll try and answer.
You're worse than me.
In one sentence, I think we left it at Highbury.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, we had a few of the Invincibles left over for a while.
Yeah.
But and we can talk in length about Wenger's Project Youth and all that, and we played some great football in that period. But as I said earlier, the problems we have now are the problems we had in 2008, in 2011, when it came to bottling the titles, all those really shit years we had in between those as well. This is a team that are susceptible from set pieces, that lack concentration, that lack finishers. This could describe a team from 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah, and I don't think we have a leader on the pitch either. I mean, Amanda, I am as old as you are. I'm a fellow 69er. Oh, okay. But because we didn't get matches on TV until very late, I didn't get to see Tony Adams play very often. But I think we're just missing a leader. It's a personnel problem, and I don't know that you can just go buy a captain. A captain's kind of you're just kind of born that way, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if we can just go buy somebody like Tony Adams, but I think that's what we're missing. We you got Alexis is kind of leading by example, right? His endeavor. It provides a good example for others, but he's not bringing the team together. He's not that kind of guy. Ozil is just not vocal enough to bring the team together. Wilshire's vocal, probably too vocal. He just looks like he's bitchy on the field. I don't think he's a leader.
he's like a Yorkshire Terrier. He's full of fight.
He's just always barking, right?
You look at like Chelsea, for example. They've got John Terry, who's a horrible bastard, and they're a horrible club, but they're a perfect fit, and they're both winners. Right. Chelsea won so many trophies in the last 10 years, and Terry has been a big part of that. And he's think what you want about him, but his trophy cabinet says what kind of player he is, even if he's not an admirable man. You look at City, Vincent Kompany he's ambitious, and City are an incredibly ambitious club. You can say what you want about their money, where they got it from, but they're sacking Pellegrini, they're bringing in Pep Guardiola, they spent 50 million on De Bruyne. They've spent crazy money, and they're going to keep doing it because for them, this season is not good enough, and they're changing things. For us, when you've got a manager that doesn't have for whatever reason, doesn't spend the money to really see us, you would rather risk players, for example, risk having someone who's injury prone like Wilshere and not buy a player than buying a player and him not working out and it seem like a waste of money. Mm-hmm. He'll always choose the conservative option. He doesn't have that ruthless streak that he had 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It seems to have, in his advancing years, he just seems to have lost that killer instinct.
Well, he's been ruthless with Campbell. I don't know.
Well, exactly. But you know what I mean. He was, he came into the Premier League and he got under Fergie's skin immediately because he was this foreign guy with great ideas, confident in his abilities. We were a nasty team then. We had some horrible bastards, and even someone like Bergkamp, who epitomised the great football we played, was an horrible bastard really, in playing football. Defenders will tell you that. He played against him, but that was the attitude we had. And then you look how many captains we have in that team, and you look at the kind of like we like to think of ourselves as Barcelona light. We play some good football, and it's funny actually. We are turning to Barcelona light because Barcelona lost again today, and they're bottling up in a way that only we can. So maybe we're more like them
Callum,
when we.
Callum, sorry, it's really interesting what you just said actually, because it's very true. How many captains do we have in that team? Vieira, Adams, Keown, Dixon and Winterburn all could be captains. You could look at Bergkamp was a very nasty player. Ian Wright. We had there wasn't a need for one captain, was there? They all were.
Wouldn't ask the question, would you? They were just
the
mentality.
Never been asked that question.
Like
but now we ain't got one. I mean, if Jack would have been fit and Jack would have progressed, he could be that, because he could be a nasty bastard, can't he? So, but captain material, I don't know. You know what's going to happen with Jack, don't you? You can write the script that he's going to get fit for the Euros.
He's going to play brilliant for 2 months, and he's going to get out for the season again,
be injured.
Yeah.
Because that's Arsenal. That is so Arsenal to do that.
Yeah, and I think our lack of leadership is again, you can't go buy leaders, but at the same time, we have a club and a manager that are very accepting of the finish we're having right now. They're going to come to the end of the season and say, hey, this was successful, this is just fine. And when you accept this as just fine, so will the players. The players will accept it as just fine as well. Why do I have to change? Why do I have to get better? Nobody's demanding more of me. It's just very frustrating. Is it a coincidence that
City and Chelsea have had these great captains for so many years when they've had ruthless owners and a ruthless board that demand success? And the fact that we do not have that, and we do not have a captain. I mean, Mikel Arteta, lovely bloke, very statesmanlike. Per Mertesacker, loves the club. He might shout a bit. Thomas Vermaelen, good defender. William Gallas. I mean, Fabregas, great player again.
He was.
And you look at any of these players and you just think, literally, you could take, for example, in that Invincibles team, someone like Lauren, who you wouldn't have thought as being a captain material because of the amount of captains he had around him. If he was in our team now, you'd have him as our captain. You'd think, well, this guy can play. He doesn't take his whole attitude that from that era that every player in the team had means you can take almost any player out of that Invincibles team and plot them into our current team. Just having that mentality means they're more qualified to be captain than any of our players. And so Alexis, they lead by example all the time, but they're not natural captains. They're great players that they could fit into a team like the Invincibles and not look out of place because of that mentality. But on that, they're not leaders. So
one more listener question before we call it a pod. From where did I lost it? Where did it go? Oh, here it is. Johnny Boy Eccles. It's at John Misspink. Just to bring it to a close, why don't Tesco sell alcohol before the match? It would help.
No, I find this hard to believe because Tesco's are quite often 24/7.
Yeah,
and
they won't sell it around the grounds. I don't think they're allowed to.
Really?
I think that's the reason. They do sell it, but not around the Emirates. I think I could be wrong.
Well, that's a shame. Wow.
The game, it's driving us to drink.
It is.
Other supermarkets
Absolutely.
are available. That's all we can say.
Absolutely. Other brands are available.
And I would do what I used to do when I was, 16, 17, used to go to gigs in London, get an older person or who you know. Actually, you don't need, if you're over 18, this isn't even a problem. Buy some beer yourself, little carrier bag, have a few before, stash it somewhere, behind a bush maybe, and then if a tramp doesn't get it, it'll be there for you later, and you can drown your sorrows after the game. So that's what I would say. That would be my.
You left a lot to chance there, Callum.
I know, but that's the excitement, mate. You feel like you've earned your beer, and you come back to it. If it's not been stolen by a tramp, you feel like.
Well, just to put Johnny Boy at ease here, and maybe aggravate the rest of you. I was in Kansas City last weekend. No, 2 weekends ago. We had a kind of a Gooner. American Gooner gathering in Kansas City a couple weeks ago, and we went to a Kansas City game, an MLS game. And in the stadium, you can actually buy, and I did quite a bit, premium bourbon, premium liquors, and take them to your seat.
This is America really is land of the free, isn't it? I mean, that's pretty cool.
And also, thank God we had a bus back to where we started, because I could not have driven.
Yes, no. Well, there is good public transport in London, but Yeah. I didn't realise that was the truth, though, that they couldn't even sell, Tesco's weren't even selling booze around the stadium. I mean, it seems kind of silly because there's so many Tesco's in London that you could easily pop to one like 10, 15 minutes away and easily get to the stadium. And also, you don't want to be right outside the stadium when you're drinking, really. You want to be like en route. It's kind of, on the train with a few bevies if you're having to travel into London rather than having to buy them right outside.
It's pretty sad that we need these beverages. That's just...
Well, I don't think anyone could blame us for needing beer and alcohol to, just dull our senses after days like today.
So what's left? What do we do? We got, 5 games left? Or 4? I can't.
5. We're West Brom in the week.
Got Thursday, West Brom.
Yep.
Norwich, then Aston Villa. And to be honest, none of them enthrall me. We've got Tottenham who are going to end up above us, possibly winning the league. Do you know what? I'm not joking. How many Stoke fans do you think will be on this planet tomorrow?
Oh, my God.
You've got
No
the whole
kidding.
country wanting Stoke to win, apart from, say, Villa fans and Tottenham fans.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I can't see anyone else not
That's a
Tottenham
pretty
are not
low.
a very
That's a pretty
well-liked-
low feeling. Actually, cheering for Stoke. That's a pretty low feeling.
It is. It's a low feeling because it's not even benefiting us, really,
No.
as Arsenal. It's only because most of us know Tottenham fans. And as I said, I'd have to emigrate because my life would be untenable where I live.
I've always respected Stoke as a club. I think we can all agree in that they're a lovely club. And we all wish. I'm being sarcastic, Amanda. But it is quite. No, to be honest, if Leicester do hold on, it will be quite funny that Spurs. Because in any other season, let's say Leicester were mid-table or whatever, if Spurs were in the position they're in now, everyone would be like, "This is incredible for Spurs to be winning the league." But they've just been outshadowed. No, not
Never
incredible.
feel like that. I know what you mean.
But it would still be a massive story because they've not won the league since the 60s and they're shit generally. They can't even get in the top 4. So for them to actually win the league will be insane. But the fact that Leicester are ahead of them means that their fairy tale is just not as exciting as Leicester's.
So what do we do for the next 5 games? What do we have? I hate to phrase it this way. What is there left to live for?
Oh man,
Well,
I'm not motivated by anything.
Exactly.
I don't feel.
I agree with you, Callum. It's the motivation's gone. It's like my dad doesn't even know if he's going on Thursday night.
Best case scenario is that we catch Tottenham and finish second. But
right, so that's what I was saying.
Would that feel great? Would that feel any?
Oh,
we'd still be behind less.
It'd feel better than it does tonight. Absolutely.
It will. But it would. Basically at this point, this season is a massive failure, and there's no other way.
And you know what? We built St Tottenham's Day up, didn't we? Now apparently they're going to have St Goner's Day or something if they end above us or whatever, which is fair enough because we did all that. And that's all we're living for on paying some of the highest ticket prices. This is what it's come to. No cup final to go to, no Champions League finals, nothing, and for what? So we end up 3rd, 2nd, 4th, 5th, 6th. We don't even know. At the moment, we're not playing that badly at all. We haven't lost for a bit. We just haven't scored the goals. And you know what? It is the business end of the game to score the goals. It's like, come on, we're not idiots. I know he's trying to change it with bringing Welbeck and Iwobi in, but there's no, Callum, that's the word. There's just no motivation. I'm not bothered. And I've never been like this, ever. I cannot wait for this season to end. I don't even want to discuss transfers. It's something I've never discussed because I think it's all a load of bollocks. Anyway, no one ever comes in that they say. I really liked El Neni, and he got criticised because he was only 3 or 5 million, whatever it was. I liked him from game 1. I think there are some Arsenal fans that are a tad annoying with the figures. Just because you're bringing a 30, 40 million pound man doesn't mean he's going to be fantastic. I still rue the day we let Anelka go because he would have been.
You are showing your age there, Amanda.
Sorry, but I'm saying we need a player like that, and if Welbeck could score a few more, he would be that sort of player, But anyway, sorry, I digress. I've got no motivation. If we ended up second and Leicester won the league, it would be good to laugh at Tottenham because if they let us become second, that is a disgrace for them. I think they're going to walk over Stoke tomorrow night. Honestly, if you're going to put your money anywhere, it's got to be on Tottenham tomorrow night. As I said, the whole plan, Tottenham aren't a very liked club anyway, so most teams, it's the fairy tale story for Leicester, isn't it? Honestly, they came back from 2-1, last gasp penalty kick, which apparently wasn't a penalty, but they should have had a penalty before. There's probably so much to watch on Match of the Day too. But I'm just saying that I've got no motivation to even go Thursday night. I'll go to all last 3 matches, but for what? They're not turning it on, the team.
Yeah.
They're not looking at us and going, sorry, we've let you down this season, because as much as I want Wenger to go, and I often blame the manager much more than the team, they've got to look at themselves. They're all professionals.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this ties into what I said earlier about the club taking advantage of the fact that we support the club because we chose them at any point of our lives, and we stick with them forever. So I will watch us play every game from now to the end of the season, because it is the fate I have inflicted upon myself, and I have no choice at this point. So I'll enjoy as much as I can, but realistically, I have no real excitement for any of the games. I am not looking forward to us going to the Etihad. I just feel great, kind of, and that's almost as damning as being angry all the time. Just being completely disillusioned with everything going on at the club, with the future that lays in front of us. I can't see things getting better. As I said, first of all, we need to change a manager, but even that won't guarantee us, great days on the horizon. It's going to be a long...
But you've also got to understand, Callum, nothing's going to change because the income's still there. It's not going to change. So
well, that's the thing.
Where do we find the motivation to go in?
I think the best case scenario for us now is that in the summer, Wenger thinks about things and says, I'm going to go in 2017. I don't think he'll leave this summer. I think he will see out. Whenever he does leave, it'll be the end of a contract, or if the club ever do sack him, if things look that bad. But we're far away from that at the moment.
Very far away.
I think the best thing that could happen for us is for Wenger to say, I've come to the end and I'm going to see out my contract and I'm going to go in 2017. And I think what that would do is would kind of lift everyone, obviously if you're still Wenger in, if you love them, and I do love the guy still. He has done so many great things for this club, and it breaks my heart to want him, just to genuinely want him to go. And I'm at that point now. I don't want him to be manager of this club anymore, and it pains me, but that's the cold, hard truth. Mm-hmm. But I think it would be great for him to say, this is it, I'm going. You then have the whole debate about him just ends kind of, people will still talk about him endlessly. But the people who want him gone, I'm sure would be like, well, right, we'd rather you go now, but I guess you not being offered a new contract and not signing it is what we probably expected would happen. So for the fact you are leaving is good. And next season, maybe there'll be kind of a bit of, everyone would get on better, and there'd be a weight lifted, and Wenger could potentially go out on a high. What that high would constitute as, I don't know. But
so we're still dreamers.
Yeah, man.
It wouldn't hurt so bad if we didn't love them, right?
Yeah, it really wouldn't. It really wouldn't.
Yeah.
Look, I just think that we're at a juncture now where they're only, before anything can happen, before we can begin to rebuild as a club and really try and, the road to us becoming the club we want to be is a long one, because we want to be competing with Bayern Munich and Real Madrid and Barcelona for Champions League titles. That's where we want to be as a club. That's a lot. We're so far away from that at the moment. We need to just get an identity again, start playing some good football, and get becoming more. All the problems we've had with Wenger need to be ironed out. And if that means we have other issues that come up, fine. But I almost would rather we take a risk and try something new and see what happens, rather than just stagnate and accept this to be fine, because it's not.
Yeah, so, stagnation is not fine, and I'd like to call everybody out. I mean, it's Wenger, it's Gazidis, it's Kroenke, it's the entire board accepting this, and at the same time pricing out people like Amanda's father out of the game. At the same time, they're not performing in their jobs. I think it's disgraceful. They need to take a good hard look at that and look at themselves and say, we're not doing good enough.
Mm-hmm. And that's not going to change overnight. But at the same time, even just looking at this squad of players and the money that the manager has available to him, there are managers out there, I'm sure, who could do different things with this squad and could potentially do a lot more, and with the money that we have to offer, could bring in better caliber of players and get us playing in a very different way. So whilst we are always going to have the problem that we have a board and a chairman who don't give a fuck about success, we still have the resources there for a manager to do better than what we're getting at the moment, and that's what we should be.
And calling for changing managers, the simple and obvious thing for us fans to say, but I think we all agree the problem is systemic within Arsenal.
Yeah. We just want something
acceptance of this. Mm-hmm. I hate to say mediocrity because it's not that, but it feels like that.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. 100%.
Amanda, anything else? Before I'll let you get the last word in.
Oh, do I get the last word?
Yes.
Oh, what would I like to say? Well, when you support a club, it's like a religion, isn't it? You might not. It's like a family, actually. It's like a cult, but it's like a family. Sometimes don't like your family, but you'll always love them. And I just feel we all feel let down at the moment. That's why it wasn't even toxic today. Most people can't even be bothered, to be honest. And I feel that's sad. Yeah. I'd like the team to turn up for the next 5 matches and show us what they can do and show us some pride and passion. Because I think we just all feel very, very let down. Do I feel passionate about the forthcoming season? Not at all, no. I will feel massive change will happen when he goes, and I want him to go. And I really don't know. I do know a few that want him to stay, but so my last word is, as I always end my podcast, our podcast on the Gooner Girls podcast, is I always say the same thing: always Arsenal.
All right.
No.
Oh.
So that's been a Gooner Ramble podcast. I would like to thank both of you, Callum, for joining me.
Thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure, even in these dark days.
Yes. And Amanda, I would like to thank you for joining us as well.
Thank you. Really enjoyed it, and I really appreciate you asking me to come on. And anyone that wants to, they should follow your podcast, because it's really interesting with all the different guests you have on, which is at Gooner Ramble Pod.
That is
so
correct.
Thank you.
That is correct. And everybody already knows where to find Amanda. She's getting date propositions left and right.
Yeah, they're mad.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thank you all. You can obviously you can follow us on Twitter, as Amanda just mentioned. We're also follow the podcast on iTunes, on YouTube, on we're on all of them: Stitcher, Acast, SoundCloud,
MySpace.
No, we don't have a MySpace, I don't think. But we do have Instagram and Snapchat as well. So look for us there. Anyway,
do we have a Friends Reunited?
Do you have Facebook?
Somebody might have a Facebook. Callum, do you run that?
No. If I do, I don't know about it.
Okay, then we don't have a Facebook.
Facebook sucks anyway. Twitter's where it's at. Twitter and YouTube and SoundCloud and Instagram.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll find ourselves. Oh, and James does he periscopes from time to time as well.
That's true. We do.
If you want his unique brand of humour on your phone, you can find him on there.
All right.
But apart from that, that's everything.
And James is very funny.
He is. He's a character.
Don't tell him that, though.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks again for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Good night.